What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another playoff edition of the NBA Rundown, brought to you courtesy of Run Pure Sports and Run Pure Bets. I'm joined today by Hoop, and we've made it through the regular season. The playoffs are here. Hoop, quick takeaways from the regular season, and then I'm going to ask you series by series what you think of what's been going on.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to get into some meaningful basketball again. Every game obviously much bigger. I mean, the end of the regular season turned into a grind for what we do on the betting side and the DFS side, following the news and some of these guys, not giving it 100%. Some of these teams, resting these guys down the stretch. So it's nice to get back to stable rotations, hard-fought basketball. And honestly, yeah, the first game that we're going to talk about here, it might be a team that maybe did a little bit too much of the resting and coasting, and they paid the price in game one. So it's fun. It was a fun weekend of basketball, and this week obviously is going to be, I'm assuming, even more exciting.
All right, guys. So yeah, the agenda today we'll get Hoop's thoughts on the 6 series that have happened, and then we'll jump into the 2 games tonight. So just some quick thoughts here. What did you think about the Clippers losing to the Mavericks the other night? I was a little disappointed. I had been on the show touting that I thought their late game execution would be better with the addition of Lou and Rondo. Didn't seem to be the case. What did you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge Clippers guy. I really like the Clippers. I thought, they'd get it all together come the playoffs and make a strong run here. Only game one, but obviously Dallas is a team that they're fighting to the end of the regular season, and they had, all their key guys for the most part were out there battling. Clippers, they chose the coast route, and Kawhi Leonard coasted towards the end of the season. A lot of their guys were out. Pat Beverly. They paid the price game one, and Dallas, I think, took advantage of the fact that the Clippers coasted towards the end of the regular season. Now, I mean, I still like the Clippers in the series. I mean, they're clearly going to have to win. When's that next game? Is it tomorrow? Yeah, tomorrow night. They're 6-point favorites in that game. I think they come back and win in a big way, but I don't mind seeing these teams that coasted at the end paying the price in game one. I mean, the Clippers did it. Lakers looked like shit yesterday, specifically Anthony Davis, and some of it was injury related with the Lakers, but they definitely were very cautious, I guess you could say, with their key guys, and both those teams paid a price over the weekend. Like I said, I think the Clippers win tomorrow night and eventually win the series, but you get to tip your hat to the Mavericks and what they're able to do. I mean, I've trashed the Mavericks quite a bit on here. I mean, I just don't like their supporting cast. I don't think they have a chance to make a run in this thing, but you got to give them credit. In game one, they took advantage of the Clippers.
Yeah, and one of our favorite punching bags on the rundown, Kristaps Porzingis, played quite well, so we'll go ahead and give him some credit there. The next thing we saw on Saturday was the Celtics losing to the Nets. They didn't cover. They didn't really look that good. I mean, it seemed like a sweep to me, but maybe things turn around in Boston. What do you think of this series?
Yeah, I mean, this was one of the least surprising things that happened on the weekend. I mean, they're very predictable. The Nets should just roll right through the Celtics. We've talked about it on here. I mean, ever since, you and I have been doing the shows together, I mean, the Celtics never got a stable rotation going. When they had Daniel Tice playing Tice and Tristan Thompson together, I mean, I've given Brad Stevens a lot of credit over the years, his ability to go out there and shut down some of these superstars in the playoffs, a good defensive-minded coach. That decision early on in the season cost them a lot of games, and he just hasn't been great coaching-wise this season. And yes, like every other team in the NBA, they've ran into some injury issues, but they're the one team I think that may have, the one playoff team from last year that may have taken like the biggest step backwards. Least surprising thing, like I said, at the weekend. This series, I just don't see it going, more than 5 games. Maybe the Celtics pop up and surprise the world and win one, but the Nets should just roll in this series. Easy 11-point victory for the Nets in game one. I think we see a lot more of that in this series.
Yeah, I'm really too bad for Boston Celtics fans. I think the loss of Jaylen Brown, maybe the biggest loss of the postseason, even more than Jamal Murray. So then on yesterday morning, we saw the Sixers beat the Wizards, but they didn't cover. They kept it right on the line. The odds makers knew what they were doing. Opened at 7.5, closed at 8. Sixers won by 7. What did you think of that game?
Yeah, I mean, we were on the Wizards a lot to close out the year, and
Yeah.
Westbrook really got things going at the end of the season. Beal obviously was a little banged up. 76ers are just a better team, and I think the Wizards can get a game or two in this series, but the Sixers just have too much. Tobias Harris looked great. I think we're both Tobias Harris fans. Ben Simmons had the game that you need him to have, like not scoring, but go out there, rack up the assists, get the rebounds. Like he played like he needed to play in game one. I just don't. There's just a mismatch, and there's only so much that Westbrook and Beal will be able to do in this series. Beal obviously had the big game yesterday, but it's a good defensive minded team in the 76ers. Like I said, the Wizards might get one or two here, but it should be a pretty easy series for the 76ers. I think they just kind of wear on them as this one goes on. So I wasn't very surprised really about anything that happened in this game yesterday.
Yeah, that one pretty much went to form, landing 1 point off where the books had ended it.
Yeah.
The biggest game I think yesterday, as far as the media, the fun, the talk, was the Lakers losing to the Suns. And the big surprise there was, the negative, the play of Anthony Davis, and positive, the play of DeAndre Ayton, arguably the best game of his career.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure. Maybe he dropped like 41 night against Washington that I don't know about, but he looks fantastic. What do you think moving forward? One thing to say for the Lakers, they missed 9 layups. Frank Vogel made a good point to emphasize that. Great point. I mean, that's 18 there. Even if they make 7 of those, that's another 14, and they win by 5. So what did you think of that series? And do you think that Lakers fans should be worried? Because I still think they bounce right back. I'm not ready to throw the dirt on them yet.
Yeah, I mean, this was definitely the most surprising game for me over the weekend. I bet the Lakers. I think I'm with you. I think the Lakers do end up winning this series, and I could end up eating my words here on the Suns because I've kind of not necessarily bashed the Suns. I totally respect what they did in the regular season. They're a phenomenal team. They played hard all season. Didn't really have one of those periods where they didn't look great. They just were solid all season long, and I just am a firm believer in the fact that these Chris Paul teams have really disappointed over the years when it comes playoff time. Kind of buying into that. I don't think they make a big run here. Like I said, I think the Lakers. I'm going to bet them again. I don't even know what the spread is. I'm definitely going to bet them again that next game. The one thing the Lakers have to do, though, I mean, Andre Drummond, it just makes no sense to have Andre Drummond out there. Like he doesn't do anything that they need. There's nothing that Andre Drummond does on the court that they need. They need Anthony Davis to be playing the 5. Drummond can come off the bench and be his backup. Like they do not need to start Andre Drummond. Andre Drummond is just the last guy you want on your team if you're trying to win basketball games. Yes, he can go out there and have those big 20-20 games. It's just empty stats for Andre Drummond. If they're smart, they switch this up. I don't know if they will. But like I said, I think LeBron is going to get this team together. They're going to win this next game, and I think they still end up winning the series. I'm definitely going to be betting the Lakers the next game. I believe it's I don't know what day it is, but I will be on the Lakers tomorrow, and it's the same spread 2.5. The Suns, I give them credit though. I mean, they played great, and Booker stepped up for a big game. DeAndre Ayton, like you said, probably had the best game of his career in terms of the stage that this game was on. So I give them credit, but I do think the Lakers bounce back. I hope they make those right decisions and really relegate Andre Drummond to more of a bench type role. But this was by far the most surprising game of the weekend for me.
Yeah, if we were going to criticize Anthony Davis, I'd say his biggest weakness is the lack of self awareness and self understanding of who he is as a player. In this league, he's a small ball 5, right? I mean, he's a small ball 5. You watch the lineup when he's out there, right? They look so much better. When he went out of that game, I'm like, okay, the Lakers got a chance now, but Drummond had built them a hole. And Davis keeps getting the GMs to bring in these bum 5s, Omar Asik, right? Andre Drummond, right? Because he doesn't want to be a big man. Bro, you're 6'11", okay?
Yeah.
I hate to say it, right? I mean,
it's true.
right? You're
That
not
is a good
Kevin
point.
Durant. So
They're always messing around with these big gumpy centers. Like, dude, like embrace what you are, embrace your role. I mean, you can be the
yeah.
best five in the league if you want. Like, stop messing. That's a good point. Like, stop messing around with these other bums and just do what you need to do.
Yeah. So we will see, but my guess is that Vogel gets that into his head by the end, and there's probably a little bit of friction there, but I think they all both know that when it really comes down to it, he will be playing the small ball five, and that's an advantage the Lakers have in closing out this series. Let's talk about a series that broke my heart yesterday. I was so excited for the Knicks and their fans. I jumped in on the Knicks. We had a great conversation on the rundown on Friday with the panel being split. JSU and I on the Knicks, Tyler and Mangone on the Hawks, and Tyler and Mangone got the last laugh as Trae Young. I mean, I put this little SpongeBob meme in there. I said, this is how I feel after touting the Knicks defense all week, right? And
Yeah.
they just allow, I mean, not the fact that they beat them, but how do you play such good defense all game and then you just let them get like an open layup line, Sacramento Kings third quarter in February style defense? It was
Yeah.
unbelievable there. And I can't imagine what those fans were like leaving the Garden because that was the most fun on TV. Talk about the energy coming through the TV. I mean, I felt the energy coming through the TV, and I'm sitting here in Sacramento, California, right? So really disappointing there. Not ready to put the dirt on the Knicks, though. I mean, that game definitely could have gone either way. Mango made a great point. A 27-point game from Alec Burks, and you don't get it done, but you got to expect that Julius Randle's going to step up and play a little better. What were your thoughts of that game in the series? Because to me, that was my favorite game to watch as a fan all weekend.
Yeah, super exciting from entertainment standpoint. I mean, just very, very exciting seeing all those fans and everyone all excited, and it was a cool atmosphere to see. It's kind of the sign of normalcy for sports, I think, in general. So that was cool. Combine that, the PGA Championship yesterday, all the fans marching down with Phil Mickelson. I
Yeah.
feel like this weekend in the sports world was that turn of the corner of just kind of getting back to normal. So, in terms of this series. I don't know. I mean, I could see this going either way. Like, I have no strong lean on this Knicks Hawks series at all. I think that the Knicks will get back. I think they're going to get some wins. I think this series goes 6 or 7. And that's kind of what the spreads are going to indicate in this. The Knicks are again favored by 2.5, I believe, for their next game. Yeah, they're favored by 2.5. When the Hawks are at home, they'll probably be favored by 2.5. So I really do think this series comes close to going the distance. I really have no strong lean. I mean, I guess if I was going to lean, I think the Hawks get it done just because of Trae Young. I mean, he's got that playmaker ability that I don't think anyone else in this series really does have. But like I said, would not be surprised anyway. I think this does go the distance, 6 or 7 games. So, out of all the series, this is the one I have the least amount of conviction on.
Yeah, well, and hey, if there's any game not to bet, a series not to bet and just to enjoy, right? I mean, because I was actually mad that I bet it yesterday because I was like, dude, if I was just a fan, I didn't have any money on
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
That ending and Trae Young, it's quiet in here. I mean, it was just
yeah,
fantastic. I
yeah,
like Trae Young as a player. The foul hunting can be annoying, right? But it's like
yeah.
whatever. He's still great, exciting to watch, and I like the whole team. Bogdanovich, I'm partial to him being a former King, and I really enjoyed his contributions here. Clint Capella has just been, I think he's an underrated player, and that move that they made with Houston, I think
Yeah.
that's probably one of the best trades in the last 3 or 4 years. So, hey, I think you got the right idea here to just enjoy it. Unfortunately, I already bet the Knicks to win the series, so my rooting interest and my hearts are there. I'll be rooting for the Knicks to take it home. The
Just
Grizzlies,
pulling up these series prices real quick. I
yeah,
just
plus
looked.
200 on the Knicks now. I might double
Yeah,
dip. It's so
yeah,
tough.
that one. But then just looking the Lakers, the Lakers are still favored in that series. I'm kind of
Yeah, minus
surprised. Are you?
120.
Yeah, are you surprised by that or no?
No, I think the Lakers are one of the few teams that's a tad mispriced off the market because
Yeah,
of Los Angeles' strength as a betting market, especially in the offshore books that I use.
yeah,
So I think that that's one of the few where they take public money. I think like in baseball, right? Yankees lines are always a little skewed because there's just
yeah,
so many
yeah,
people that love the Yankees. I think
yeah,
it's the same way. I'd say the Lakers are probably the most popular team in the NBA. I
yeah.
don't know
Have to
for
be.
sure, but I would think
Yeah.
that they would have just the biggest fan base
I
and the
mean,
most merchandise. So.
what's the difference in the situation that the Lakers are in right now, and then like the Nuggets? The Nuggets are plus 220, and the Lakers are minus 120. It just seems odd to me, but.
Yeah, I think if you watch the game though, it's so easy to see the Lakers fix, right? You run more AD at the five, he shoots
Yeah,
well, right? And you
yeah,
know that LeBron's going to get better. They've done this in game one. You know they did it. I don't think they won the finals. I don't think the Western Conference Finals, but I know they lost game one to Portland last year. I know lost game one to Houston last year, and I think those were both 4-1s. So
yeah,
it could be a little bit of that too.
yeah,
So yeah, I mean the Knicks. The only one I was thinking about rebuying on it was the Knicks at plus 200. I like that a little better than the Denver at plus 220. But at that price, I mean it is
yeah,
it gets tempting there, especially when you get home team on both those prices, right? So if you can just get it to 7, you got to
yeah.
feel pretty good about the wager there. But tell me what your thoughts are with the Grizzlies upset over the Jazz. I actually thought it was a terrible spot for the Jazz, but then we're on the live show. The news comes out that Mitchell's out, right? Um, and if they would have known that for 2 or 3 days, I don't know if I would have responded to it as much. But I thought the late news would throw the team off, and I feel like it did. Gobert
Yeah.
talked about it. Did Tyler and I jumped in on the +8? He gave it out on the Keg Live yesterday. So the members of Run for Sports definitely enjoyed that. Didn't necessarily think they would win straight up. Well, what did you think of that win? And boy, let's just talk about how awesome John Moran is, huh?
Impressive win. I mean, a very impressive win for the Grizzlies. I mean, the Jazz are another team that I know, at least for myself personally, I think a little overrated. I mean, you have a lot of the elite teams in the Western Conference that just quite frankly didn't give it their all in the regular season. I mean, the Jazz are not the best team in the Western Conference. I don't think the Suns are the second best team in the Western Conference. Now, I could be proven wrong as the playoffs go on. So I'm not necessarily surprised. You throw in the surprise Donovan Mitchell thing, and where the players apparently didn't know either, which is kind of odd to me, that they wouldn't have a better grasp on Donovan Mitchell's availability going into the playoffs and the time off they've had and everything. So I expect him to probably come back for the next game. I'm sure they win, but man, it was cool to see the Grizzlies get that win. And I mean, to me, it just shows they're a vulnerable team. The Jazz are a very vulnerable team going into the playoffs, and that's what's going to make these playoffs so much better, because there's not many teams in the Western Conference where you tell me, okay, this team is the Western Conference champs, where I'd be surprised. I think it's very, very wide open, and that's what's just going to make these playoffs so damn exciting. But I was very happy to see the Grizzlies beat the Jazz yesterday. Now, will they win the series? Probably not. But it was really cool to see them get that game won, and John Morant looked phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, this is great. Regardless of what happens, I think that you got to consider the play-in results, and then this series a win for Memphis. They're getting some playoff experience, and they have to be happy. And John Morant continues to imprint himself on the national psyche, and I think that can only be good for the NBA fans, because he's such a joy to watch, and I definitely am a big fan of him, and I think he's going to be really good in about 3 or 4 years, right? On that like Zach LaVine timeline, like just absolutely dominating the league in about 4 years. So we'll
Mhm.
see how that turns out. Now let's turn our attention to tonight, and these will be the games that we will be breaking down and giving out the best bets on. The first one is the Miami Heat. They will be playing the Milwaukee Bucks. The line is -4.5. It was about four. It was 4.5, 5 on Saturday, so not much has changed. Just like a quick recap of that game. I mean, here's the big storylines. Neither team shoot well. The Bucks, 16% from behind the arc. You have to assume that would improve. Jimmy Butler, 4 from 22 from the line. Bam Adebayo, 4 from 15 from the line, from the field.
Yeah,
You got to expect that improves as well, right? So,
yeah.
both teams have something to hang their hat on to what they can do better tonight. Me personally, I took the Bucks to win the series. I also think that they get it done tonight, and I think that the increased 3-point shooting will outweigh the increased performance from Butler and Bam. But what are your thoughts on this game? And I know that this is a pretty popular one to have opposite opinions on.
Yeah, I mean, this is you and I are usually in lockstep. This is
Yeah.
one I'm on the complete opposite side of. So I bet the Heat to win the series. Not a ton. I didn't put a ton on it. I just
Hmm.
put a little
I
sprinkle on
think that
it.
series price was value. It should have been 150 to 175, and you got what, plus 240?
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
somewhere in
I
that
can't
range. Like I
argue with
said,
that bet.
I didn't put a ton on it. I put a little bit on it, but I did bet the Heat in game one, and I already bet them again in game two. They're just a team I like in the playoffs. I mean, you're going to get your full effort from them. They're going to grind it out. I just think that this should be closer to 2.5, and could be wrong, but definitely like the Heat here tonight. And the one thing that you pointed out, I think you can anticipate much better shooting on both sides. Both these teams were very disappointing when it comes to shooting the basketball, and that is because I think both these teams, the Bucks in the regular season, not a big defensive team. They're more focused on keeping that pace up. Now it's the playoffs. They have able bodies. They have guys that can play defense. Drew Holiday, Middleton, Giannis, they're all going to step up their game defensively. So I think combination of first game jitters in both these teams, that he clearly are a defensive minded team. But the Bucks, like I said, now it's the playoff times. They're going to step up their defense a little bit as well. I mean, but that was the biggest takeaway: poor shooting on both sides. Now, for DFS purposes, it's only a 2-game slate tonight. I definitely prefer most of my exposure coming in the later game. Like that one a lot better from a fantasy perspective. But some names here in this game that I definitely have interest in. On the Miami side, Jimmy Butler, he's only 8.5K on DK. It's just too cheap. 4 for 22 shooting, still managed to get like 50 fantasy, but that did include overtime as well. But I think tonight he is more effective shooting the ball, and you can count on a big game from him. And another guy, Goran Dragic, ended up playing 34 minutes, 5 of those in overtime. So I think we can anticipate him playing around 30 minutes tonight, and he's very productive when he's out there. So those are the two guys on the Heat side that I have interest in. And then on the Bucks side, I'm really not going to be on the Bucks all that much because a lot of these guys are priced similarly to guys in the next game that I have a lot more interest in. Like if I'm deciding between Giannis and Jokic, I'm going Jokic tonight. The one guy that I do kind of like on DK on DraftKings is Dante DiVincenzo. 4.9K, I think, is a good price tag for him. He played 37 minutes. Take away the 5 from overtime, we're looking at like 32 and a half minutes. He's a guy that can kind of contribute across the board. I mean, we saw last game, 10 rebounds for him. He's just very active when he's out there. So I like him at the 4.9K. He's probably my favorite. Brook Lopez as well. I mean, 4.6K, played the 36 minutes. So we take away the 5 again. He's probably going to play right around 31 minutes. That's a good price tag for him. So I'm going to be more focused on the cheap guys on the Bucks side. If I'm spending up, I want to spend my salary, like I said, on that next game, on the Portland Nuggets game for sure.
Real quick, just help me out. So strategy on these 2-game slates is I'm kind of learning. I got the ropes of the regular season, but now it's a 2-game slate. How interested are you when you're building these lineups? Are you in getting action in both games? Or if it came down to it, I mean, would you just load up the Portland-Denver game? I mean, would you feel comfortable only having players from that game?
Yeah, so on these 2-game playoff slates, I've had a lot of success more focusing in. Yes, you're going to want some pieces. So, like, if I'm going to focus, like I'm going to do tonight on Portland, Denver, okay, that's going to be my focus. Most of my guys are coming from that game. I'm going to try to get a piece from Miami and a piece from Milwaukee. Just one piece on both sides, most likely. Hope the game blows out. I mean, that's when you're playing DFS, you're essentially hoping that there's a blowout and these guys don't get their full run. And then the next game you're loading up, 75% of your lineup is from this next game. It stays close, it stays competitive, and you have a big leg up on the competition. I really think you want to be doing it on both sides. If you prefer Miami and Milwaukee tonight, if you think this is the better DFS game, then focus on this one, load up, and only get a couple pieces from Portland, Denver. Now, more times than not, it's going to be both these games are competitive. I mean, it's a 4.5 point spread and a 1.5 point spread. More times than not, you're going to get 2 competitive games, and you're going to need equal pieces from both to contend. So you can do it both ways, but you really, when the playoffs come, you kind of want to build a little narrative in your head when you're kind of constructing your teams.
Cool, and I'm going to have some fun with that tonight, and I know you're the DFS expert, but I just want to let you know, if I was on the Hardwood Live show today, right, and I had to give out like spreads, king size bed, play of the day, or whatever, I would
Yeah.
choose Bam out of bio. I would choose Bam out of bio, and it's because he went 4 from 15. He specifically talked about he was not looking for the hoop in overtime, that he was frustrated. In my mind, I think the Spolstra goes to him right away because they understand how key he is on both ends of the floor. They need to get him active. They need to get his confidence back. If I'm Spolstra, I already know Butler has his confidence. Butler can go 0 for 22, and he still feels like he's the best player on the floor. I'm not as worried about that. Bam, I'm a little worried about watching that performance and then reading the quotes next time. I'm making a focused effort to get him involved offensively early. So if I'm on the show, and you guys can let him know, spreads, king size bed, play of the day is Bam Adebayo
Bam,
8K
bam.
on
Bam,
DK.
bam, go ham, ham. I mean, I think
Yeah,
he does have low ownership. I think the ownership is low on him. I mean, people play
yeah.
Butler over him. People are gonna, focus on the other stars. I think he's a low owned guy tonight, which is definitely key for tournaments.
All right, let's move on to the next game. And I think you're right. I think that you just grab a piece or two from this game, and then I love loading this game up. I think the score is going to be much higher, even though the totals are pretty close to the same. It's about the same line as last time. So the books were not scared by Portland's what I consider dominant performance. I mean, it was dominant. The way they dominated the backcourt. I think they won by 14, but it didn't even really feel that close. Portland had the game in hand. The full fourth quarter, right? I didn't really feel like as a Nuggets backer that my ticket had a shot. And so we're looking at the game. What are two things that maybe could go different if you want to back the Nuggets? First one is 8 of 13 from behind the arc, which combination between Carmelo and Simons. Carmelo's great, fantastic. Simons is great, fantastic. Don't necessarily know if we can count on that. And then on the other side, Michael Porter going 1 from 10 behind the arc. Probably expect him to do a little better, right? Even if he hits 3 or 4 from behind the arc, it's a different game, different feel, and Denver's not feeling that scoreboard pressure. So those are a couple things they can do better. But I'll tell you what, watching the tape and watching the game, I was really disappointed in Denver's guards' inability to play defense. I thought that Campazzo and Rivers could at least trouble and slow down Lillard and McCollum for a tad, but it felt like they had free reign, and it almost felt like Lillard could have had more. Um, you know, he missed some easy shots there, and it felt like he could get whatever he wants. And then on the opposite side, and something that I was kicking myself watching, Nurkic might be the very except for Rudy Gobert, the very best defender to have on Jokic.
Mhm.
It's like he's just similar build. He understands how he plays. That's tough to overcome. I mean, the more and more I look at this, the more it seems like it's a bad draw for
Yeah.
Denver. But at the same time, I'm so worried that I'm just overreacting off one game. Give me your thoughts on this game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Denver backer. I mean, I've been on the Nuggets for a while, and I know a lot of people wanted to get off of them when Jamal Murray got hurt. I still had confidence. Now, game one, it was not great, and you can see, like you laid out, you can see the vulnerabilities here with this Denver team. I mean, this is actually a pretty bad matchup for them. Nurkic has always done well against Jokic. The best part of the Portland team is the weakest part of the Nuggets team, and that's the guard position. Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum. The Nuggets are now forced to play guys like Rivers and Monte Morris and this Marcus Howard guy because they just don't have guards. Now, for me personally, I already bet the Nuggets. I think they win here tonight. I think they get back on track. Do I feel confident about that? Not as much as I did before game one because we see the blueprint here and how Portland wins this game and the series. So it's a little nerve wracking, but I think they get back now. Defensive or for DFS wise, we definitely want pieces here, and there are a lot of pieces that we can look to. Like you talked about, like Carmelo and Anthony Simons having those bigger games. I think we can go back to guys like Norman Powell, Robert Covington. I think those are the guys that are more productive than the bench guys tonight. So give me Powell, give me Covington, two cheap price tags. Powell is a guy, just a lot of minutes. You get 36 minutes from him, and he wasn't great. I mean, 3 for 11 last game, 2 for 7 from behind the arc. I think he kind of rights the ship here tonight. He's one of my favorite plays here on the slate. Covington is very cheap, 4.4K on DK. He played a lot of minutes, 34. The issue you have with him is he's just not like he's probably the fifth option offensively. So he's got to do a lot. He's got to hit his threes. He's got to do a little more rebounding. I think he kind of gets more back on track here tonight. And then Nurkic is a very strong play fantasy wise. When Jokic is out there, they want Nurkic on him, or they want Nurkic on Jokic. And he was very solid, and he's played very good against Jokic throughout his career. 42 fantasy point game, played 33 minutes. He's going to get around the same playing time again here tonight, so definitely like him. Now on the Nugget side, we know Mike Malone. He has his guys that he likes, and you gotta get into the Mike Malone circle of trust to have a chance at playing time. Even apparently Austin Rivers has entered that circle of trust because Austin Rivers started last game and played 33 minutes. And usually when you're in with Malone, you're in. So I anticipate Rivers to have a another role like that tonight, 30 some minutes. Now the one guy I think that ends up playing a little bit more tonight is Monte Morris. They need more of an offensive minded guy out there. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Campazzo's minutes come down a little bit in favor of Monte Morris. I mean, Morris is a guy that they've trusted for a while. So I think Morris ends up with a bigger role tonight. So he's the guy that I'm kind of looking at as a value option. Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum, they're going to get theirs. It doesn't matter who you throw at them. Campazzo, yes, has done a great job on some big names all season long. But in a 7-game series against Dame and CJ McCollum, they're going to win that matchup over Campazzo every day of the week. So I think at some point they just end up going to Monte Morris a little bit more in this series, especially if it starts out rough. If Dame and CJ are having their way, I think we see Morris in there pretty quickly, and I think he has a big game tonight. Jokic is the guy I want to spend on. If I'm deciding between him and Giannis, they're basically the same price tag. Michael Porter Jr.
I was going to ask about him. He's $7K.
Yeah, he's like a lock. Like he's okay. My favorite play on this site. I mean, he still managed 40 fantasy points last game, and like you said, 1 for 10 from the 3-point line. He's too good of a shooter. He's not going 1 for 10 tonight. I will guarantee you that. Probably my favorite play on the entire slate.
All right, yeah, and then I'm sorry, I was looking up the price of what you're saying, and would you consider CJ there? I thought he was a little low too, but then the concern is he doesn't give you the auxiliary, right? He doesn't give you.
Yeah, no, he's too cheap too. I mean, the 7-3 price tag on him is too cheap. I mean, the one guy in this game that's hard to play is Dame. I mean, I do really like Dame, but it's kind of hard because he's so closely priced to those other guys. He's too close to Jokic. He's too close to Giannis. It's hard to get exposure to a lot of these guys, but maybe in tournaments you look to Dame because I think that keeps his ownership down a little bit. But yeah, definitely CJ McCollum 7-3. I think he's 7-5 on FanDuel. Just a steady, safe option for sure.
All right, well, that's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to see how my lineups turn out tonight. And the awesome part is you can actually kind of set the lineup and not be right in front of your computer, right?
Exactly. That's the nice part about the playoffs.
I feel like I could set my lineup this morning, and then, if I'm out busy, it's not a complete disaster if I run with the lineup where you literally cannot compete during the regular season. If you're at the grocery store, if you're at the Suns baseball game, right? Yep. I mean, don't do the lineup. Don't donate, to the Hoop and Big T College Fund. Stay away because the sharks are in the water and they're going to eat you. So to confirm, you like the Nuggets here to bounce back, huh?
Yeah, I do. I think they bounce back, but I'm a little nervous about it. I mean, I
am too.
I mean, I love the Nuggets. I've been backing them. I'm gonna stay loyal to them. But you can see a path. I think there's a very clear path where Portland wins this series in 5. I mean, there's a very clear path where that happens, and maybe the Jamal Murray thing is too much for them to overcome. I mean, I can see it. Yeah. So it doesn't feel super comfortable, but I'm gonna give them one more chance tonight.
One last question for you, and then we'll do best bets. So, in my mind tonight, this game is must-win for Denver, right? If they lose, it's over. Yeah. Done. Vince Carter gif, over. Do the windmill dunk, everything. Does that affect your way that you handicap, or do you assume it's a playoff? They were going to try their hardest no matter what?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just full effort. I mean, their expectations are just too high, even with the injury. So I think full effort. That's what I'm going to be banking on.
Okay. So let's go ahead and do it then. Best bets. What are you going to take? We kind of shied away from these totals. 222 and 226 are the numbers. I think they're good numbers. I lean under. I've been rocking the unders. Just almost feel like I'm like getting like a little complacent in my handicaps, right? Because
Yeah.
it's like I keep betting under. I keep cashing, but I'm almost feeling like, wait a second, it's got to catch up to you. And obviously, they've lowered the number significantly. I think this number was around 227 for the under on the Bucks game. Now they've dropped it to 222. 5 point adjustment seems pretty good, especially on a game where we both expect both sides to shoot better. That
Yeah.
both sides didn't shoot well. We expect Milwaukee to be better from three. So that's why I completely stayed away from that total. And then Portland's 226. I think that one's going over. If I were to bet an over, I prefer that one.
Yeah, I probably would lay, no strong opinion, but
They're tough,
I'd
huh? I think
say,
they're sharp totals.
yeah. If Portland Denver, I'd lean the over. Like I think there's a clear path where this game can go over. I still think even despite them bringing it down, I just looked. It closed at 27 in the Miami
Yeah.
Milwaukee game. I like the under. Like I said, I mean the Heat are a defensive minded team. The Bucks, I think, are going to be giving a much better defensive effort in the playoffs opposed to the regular season. So I think I still lean the under in that one.
Yeah, and we definitely saw PJ Tucker and his acquisition really pay dividends with his great defense on Jimmy Butler. Giannis played well on Butler as well. Was matched against Butler way more than last series. So, Coach Bud, he's at least making some adjustments and going out
Yeah.
firing, right? He's not just sitting on his hands and letting the
Yep.
inevitable happen. So let's give him credit for that, and let's give out some best bets. What do you like? What's your best bet of the day? Side, total, or prop?
Yeah, I mean the Nuggets have treated us well on the show. That's kind of you and I have both had some a decent amount of Nuggets winners throughout the regular season. I'm going to go back to my squad tonight. Definitely, I'm going to go with the Nuggets. But I do agree with you. If they lose here tonight, it is done
Vince Carter.
it's over. Vince Carter done. So I'm going Nuggets. They're gonna treat us well tonight.
All right, and I went opposite of you, and when it failed to cover on Saturday, I didn't feel that bad because I figured half the viewers listen to JSU anyways and didn't bet it with me. So if it felt like me, I was losing my own money and not the whole group's. And I'm gonna go back to the well. I'll go ahead and bet Milwaukee again. I think they do get it done tonight. I really love their maturation as a team, and I think the addition of Drew Holiday and PJ Tucker are paying dividends. I love the way they close with. I love the five that they close with, and I love the idea of Giannis and Middleton playing the Shaq and Kobe role. Giannis, go run the game for 45 minutes, but hey, let me take the big shots at the end because you can't make free throws. Okay, so give the ball to the shooter at the end. I love that they've done that. So give me the Bucks tonight, and thank you for coming on. We'll be back next week, and let's see. Okay, next week we should still have games though. We should be doing games 4 and 5s for the next week. So I'll get to get your thoughts. We'll touch in on these series, see where we were right, see where we were wrong, because we all know these game 1 overreactions can come hot and heavy, right?
Yeah.
So thank you for joining me today. Why don't you let everyone know what's going on over at runpuresports.com this week, and what content will you be a part of?
Yeah, we're most of the shows, the afternoon, evening shows are kind of going to be more focused MLB, but the Up to Lock show that we have with JSU Holden and the schedule has kind of shifted a little bit more guys involved in that. I think I'm on there tomorrow. It's going to be a MLB and NBA talk. So we're going to talk some NBA. We're going to talk MLB once the lineups kind of come out. But yeah, 2 shows every day starting, I believe, 4 p.m. Eastern time. So yeah, come check it out.
You got a promo code for those who want to get involved?
Yeah, we still have the promo code RPS Heater 25. It will get you 25% off your first payment at Run Pure Sports, any monthly package. So if you want to do the DFS and bets package combined, typically $100. You get to try it out for $75 for the first month.
And that's when I suggest you go ahead and you'll have access to all of our picks. You'll have access to the live shows, which we had a great time on. I don't know if he's still in the chat, but Mikey jumped on with us yesterday. We got to go first take and argue Jordan and LeBron for an hour while we were sweating out that Lakers under. But we had a great conversation and the under got home. So it was about as good as the show as I could have hoped for, right? So that was a lot of fun. Hoop, thank you for joining me. We'll see you again next Monday. Guys, I'll be back tomorrow with JSU and Travis, and we will see. Hey, if Milwaukee gets it done tonight, I might get to be a little arrogant on the show tomorrow. But unfortunately, I'd still say that even going up 2-0, heading back to Miami, you can't really call it a win. Whereas I felt that if Milwaukee had lost these, at least game one, it could have really ruined things.
Yeah.
So I felt that Milwaukee could have lost the series, but couldn't necessarily win it yet. But they were able to get it done, and we will see how it goes tonight. Thank you for joining us, guys. Check out over at runpurebets.com. Runpuresports.com gives you all your daily fantasy and sports betting information that you need. Also, access to the Discord where you can talk to other like minded sports bettors and gamblers and share information, not to mention get answer questions from us. Hey, Hoop, you said this on the show today. I'm really torn. I can't tell if I want to put CJ or MPJ in the lineup. Hoop will go
Yep.
ahead and give you those type of answers. So thank you, everybody, for hanging out. We will be back tomorrow and run pure.